Hi, I'm Chris Casey, Culinary Manager for Cadco Ltd. And today, we're going to show you how to bake simple and delicious cookies using our Cadco line of convection ovens. The first thing we always recommend is that you preheat the oven. How do you do this? First of all, set the temperature. For cookies, usually about 300 to around 325 degrees. The next is the timer. What I like to do is turn it on to the continuous on mode. This will allow the oven to warm up. The warm-up times vary from about 5 to 8 minutes depending upon the size of the oven. Now, after that warm-up's done, now you're ready to bake. Typically there's 3 types of cookie dough available. The first one is scratch dough. That's where you control the ingredients and you know your own recipe. The next is a refrigerated processed dough, typically found in the refrigerated section of grocers or through food service dealers. This is actually dough that's typically in a tub and will be refrigerated, not frozen. The next is actually the frozen. Frozen dough typically comes in a small puck form, which is easy to store. Now, depending upon the type of dough that you have, will determine your cooking time and also your temperature. The next thing after the cookie dough that you're going to run into is the type of pan that you use. Here I have 2 distinctive types of pans. The first one is your commercial sheet pan. Commercial sheet pans will typically have a lip running around the entire perimeter of the pan. The next is actually a flat baking sheet. The flat baking sheet holds a couple distinct advantages. The first is the fact that you can fit more product on the pan. The second is the fact of no lip going around the pan, so you get a very even browning across the top. What I always like to do, no matter what type of pan I use, is to spray a little bit of pan release, or in this case, use a couple of pieces of parchment paper so that the product comes off the pan nice and easy after you pull it out of the oven. Now let's start the baking process. Typically what I like to do is I like to look for where I'm going to place the cookies in the oven. If I'm doing one sheet pan, such as this one right here, I'll place it within the middle of the oven. If I'm doing 2, go to the middle and then also the top rack. If I'm doing 3, what will happen is I'll load up all 3 racks at the same time. This actually helps with even baking and even browning upon all the product. Now that you have your cookies in the oven, what we want to do is we want to set a time. Typically for these cookies, I would say 300 degrees, about 10 minutes. So what we want to do is we want to move the oven up from the continuous on position now to the timer. That's as simple as turning back to the right and then setting your time on the top of the timer here. When the baking time is elapsed, as you just saw, the oven will shut itself down completely. Now, be very careful because the pan still will be hot inside the oven. Now what we want to do is we want to take those pans out and allow your cookies to cool. Usually about 5 to 10 minutes for the cookies to cool till they're at an edible state of temperature. Here are a few helpful hints. The first has to do with baking and browning. A lot of people ask me, why are my products not coming out evenly browned or evenly baked? The first has to do with time and temperature. The time will need to be increased and the temperature reduced. This will allow for the oven to come back up to temperature and cook your products more evenly. The second has to do with the size of the oven. Today we used a quarter-size sheet pan. You might be using a half-size or even a full-size. These ovens will have all different variances depending upon the type of product and also the type of cookie that you might be making today. If you have any additional questions or need any more information, you can contact us toll-free at 1-877-603-7393, or you can contact me directly at chris@cadco-ltd.com.